This is Paris, the hardest driving challenge on Earth, and this Tesla is about to prove why no other self-driving system can survive here. Let me take you on a ride full of risky, dangerous and illegal maneuvers from everyone around us in a place where 99% of you would surely go insane if I put you in the driver's seat. We're starting on Winston Churchill Avenue in Paris, right next to the Grand Palace, and this is immediately a challenging zone for FSD. A wide, mixed-use boulevard, tons of pedestrians, oblivious tourists, jaywalking, a perfect storm of edge cases, so let's see how the car does. After engaging FSD, the car has to merge while yielding to a cyclist, gets overtaken by a motorcycle and almost instantly has to slow down for a crosswalk, but correctly doesn't stop and continues fluidly. After crossing the intersection, a construction site makes it challenging to get onto the bridge, and FSD narrowly misses a great opportunity to overtake a slow bike transporter. Unlike the white Toyota, who decided to overtake right after the crosswalk. Tell me in the comments right now, would you overtake or would you stay in your line? Well, if you voted for option A, I've got bad news for you, because that would technically be illegal. The same bike transporter we've been dragging behind to obey the law casually crosses the full line and illegally tries to get ahead himself, even though he wants to exit to the right, which means that he will have to get back before he gets to the end of the bridge. And what do you think actually happens? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the perfect embodiment of driving in Paris, because this law-breaking madman pulls in front of Tesla again at the last second and finishes his performance art by running a red light through this wide multi-branch intersection. Unlike the human, FSD doesn't gamble with Paris traffic lights. And here comes the local motorcycle filtering or lane splitting culture, cutting ahead even at a red light. If you're on a bike in Paris, you simply teleport yourself to the front. Legally, it's a bit of a gray area, but socially completely accepted. A perfect right turn, then a cautious, patient slowdown for a jaywalking pedestrian who's almost invisible on the original time-lapse, and even this slow-motion breakdown, they look like a ghost. We're coming up on another intersection with traffic lights, and after a smooth stop, let me remind you that the most challenging situations will happen later in the video, so definitely keep watching. And before we start driving again, you can just ever so gently nudge the like button under the video. Just don't smash it too hard to avoid disengaging FSD. I absolutely love your feedback and your support, and if you appreciate what I do here, you can throw some change into the tip jar, aka the thanks button under the video. And here comes a nerve-wracking right turn, probably the worst right turn you have ever seen in your life, because we have to get across a bike lane that probably serves as the main artery for Tour de France. Bicycles are wheezing at incredible speeds from both directions, and the Tesla has to patiently but assertively nose its way in and out of this situation and onto another bridge. After a speeding local wheezes by on the left, we get through another complex and lively intersection, almost as if an expert limo driver is behind the wheel and not an AI robot. And here comes another challenge, an extremely narrow alley with tons of parked cars on both sides and a lurking risk of anyone suddenly opening their car door or jumping out into the street. Nevertheless, we get through this whole section flawlessly again with zero issues or hesitation, including a construction site on the right, and continue to face one of the funniest situations yet. Just observe the pure patience around this poorly stopped truck blocking our way. FSD comes to a full stop and waits for just a bit before the truck driver finally drives off. Almost looks like a stage situation. What do you think? Was this a paid actor or just another day in Paris? Let me know in the comments, but if you chose answer B, then we have a lot more paid actors coming up real soon. After weaving through another intersection and letting a few pedestrians cross, we get overtaken by a cyclist. That means we have to slowly drag behind her without any real safe option to overtake for a while, but at least we can witness her almost running over this poor guy at the crosswalk. FSD of course politely lets him pass, proving again that it values human life more than humans themselves. But sometimes even FSD does something amusingly impolite, such as taking a cue from the leading car here and blocking the whole intersection together. Not something inherently unsafe or worthy of a disengagement, but admittedly suboptimal. It would be much better to just wait before the intersection and leave a modest gap for oncoming traffic to turn into. In the US, traffic lights are designed like you're driving a semi-truck blindfolded. The lights are after the intersection, way across the entire crossing, so you can't miss them even if you're 20 meters deep into the junction eating a cheeseburger. In the EU, the lights are mounted before the intersection. You're expected to actually stop at the stop line, not halfway into the crosswalk, not halfway into traffic. To be fair to our brothers across the Atlantic, the locals aren't any wiser here, demonstrated by another swarm of cyclists casually running the red light like it doesn't apply to them. This black Mercedes van cuts in front of the Tesla and makes a mess of the very next intersection, then scoots to the left like a madman while leaving us stranded in the middle of the intersection with cars and bicycles whizzing by all over. When a tiny gap opens, the Tesla immediately shoots it and still has to wait for another cyclist and then for a pedestrian before finally getting through. A parking car doesn't spook FSD in any way. It fluidly continues through a narrow section and approaches something that feels like two intersections smashed together by a French urban planner on triple espresso. Paris loves these multi-layered intersections, where old city design meets modern traffic rules. Technically, you're at one intersection. Practically, it's like playing two at once. Humans figure it out purely by instinct, and FSD powered by end-to-end neural nets can now do the same. It's not as challenging because we're going straight, but some more pedestrians dodging has to occur before we can continue. Amazingly clean overtake of this giant truck, and no. After experiencing FSD firsthand in the US, I will not stop rambling about the smoothness because it goes beyond what you can see on the screen. I can promise you that no one has ever driven you smoother than FSD will once you actually try it. FSD pauses for the red light and pedestrians, of course, but Paris cyclists, they pause for absolutely nothing. You can see another specimen just as a barely visible blur because of how fast they're going. After a few moments of challenging but fairly standard driving conditions, we come across another super interesting scenario. FSD stops quite abruptly in the middle of this turn, possibly because of a pedestrian taking a selfie in the middle of the road. But after this lady gestures it to go and the road is clear, it calmly proceeds. In Paris, you never know if this or that person is crossing, posing for Instagram, or suddenly stepping into your path. A tight alley leads us into a sudden jaywalker, which to be fair is expected in such narrow streets without a sidewalk in sight, and everything is again handled with utmost care. Now we're stopping for a dude who's either waiting for a green light or just too deep in his thoughts about the inevitable robot revolution. Either way, he gets to cross the road, and only after that, FSD approaches the main road in an attempt to spot a gap for a quick merge, which it executes almost instantly and of course perfectly smoothly. There's a bunch of pedestrians it has to let cross again, but then something unexpected happens and the AI handles it in a way I didn't expect. A random person steps into the road from the left pretty quickly and then reaches out as if they're hailing a cab, and FSD doesn't even slow down a little bit. Now, I wasn't expecting it to go full robo-taxi mode, pull over and open the doors, but what would happen with any other assistance system, including Tesla Autopilot, would probably be really sharp braking in case the pedestrian continued their trajectory, which led them in front of the vehicle. What would you have done? Let me know in the comments again, and don't forget to add the proper timestamp in your message so that everyone knows which part of the video you're talking about. It's situations like these that really amaze me because the fluidity and grace which FSD exhibits is just out of this world. And speaking of out of this world, what's also out of this world is the upcoming intersection, which officially starts our triathlon of impossible roundabouts. Technically, this isn't even a proper roundabout. It's just an enormous open intersection where everyone kind of merges, negotiates, and makes it work. For my US viewers, imagine a four-way stop except no stop signs, no marked lanes, no clear entry points, and about 6 different roads feeding into it simultaneously. In the US, intersections are highly structured. Stop lines, dedicated turn lanes, traffic signals, rules written down somewhere. Here, it's more like urban free jazz. You read body language, you feel the flow, and you slide in when there's a gap. Locals have mastered this intuitive negotiation after years of practice, but for an autonomous system like FSD, this is an absolute edge case festival. The system has to predict not just what every car is doing, but what every car might do, based on extremely subtle, often illogical human behavior. And just as we exit the first mess, we're immediately thrown into round 2. Once again, no marked roundabout, no yield signs, no clear lane structure. It's basically a wide open arena where drivers show up from multiple sides and just kind of work it out. Look at how FSD understands the situation, wants to overtake, but is really slow, cautious, and predictable about it, to stay safe and correctly signal its intentions to other drivers. For a human, this is perfectly understandable. You scan for gaps, you read body language, you predict who's being aggressive, and you just slide in when you can. But for autonomy, this is exactly where rule-based systems completely collapse. You can't write hard-coded rules for an intersection that doesn't have any rules. There are no fixed lanes, no consistent priority, no deterministic logic. It's pure real-world chaos. That's why neural networks are the only way forward. Instead of programming every possible situation, you train the network to understand behavior. Just like a human driver would. It sees the patterns, the subtle cues, the flow of traffic, and adapts in real time. This is exactly why Tesla's vision-based neural net approach is years ahead of everyone still stuck stitching together static maps and rule trees. Not even talking about LiDAR, okay? Paris isn't a programming problem, it's a perception problem, and only neural nets can solve that. Now, while we cruise through a calmer section, let me ask you for real help. Tesla's system clearly works in Europe, but we're not allowed to use it. In the video description, you'll find 2 petitions. One urging Tesla to enhance their autopilot stack with FSD-like behavior, and the other one directly challenging the regulators who block us from using technology that literally saves lives. I believe Tesla owners should have the same freedom to opt in and take responsibility, just like they do in the US, Canada, Mexico, and China. If you believe that too, add your voice. We get absolutely surrounded by pedestrians and cyclists again, and Tesla just calmly continues and weaves in with traffic even on another scary mini roundabout. It's pretty small, but that much more complicated. And don't worry, really soon I'm going to finally show you the biggest roundabout you've ever seen. This upcoming situation, though, is an absolute autonomy masterclass. There's a parked truck blocking the road, and even though the 2 leading cars ahead decide to aggressively overtake into oncoming traffic, the Tesla politely stops in just the right spot to still see ahead. After oncoming traffic clears, FSD starts overtaking, but the truck driver opens the doors and blocks the way at the exact same moment. FSD goes around regardless and lets him clear the way first before successfully finishing the maneuver and stopping with an amazing view of the Eiffel Tower in the distance. And here comes the final boss, the road rage roundabout you've been waiting for since the beginning of the video, and the final proof that Tesla FSD is unmatched in its ability, flexibility, and scalability. This is as bad as traffic can get. Welcome to Arc de Triomphe. 12 lanes, 0 lane markings, no traffic signals, no stop signs, no yield signs, just a giant circular arena where cars enter from every possible angle, cut across 5 or 6 lanes simultaneously, and exit whenever they please. Despite that, Tesla FSD does exactly what it needs to do. It merges assertively, stays slow, smooth, and predictable for others, and when there's a roadblock like a stopped car in front of it, it dynamically changes its trajectory to navigate around. To escalate the difficulty even further, there's a flock of pedestrians or joggers jaywalking across this 12-lane traffic hell. There's new cars aggressively joining the fray, who, by the way, should technically have the right-of-way here, unlike a normal roundabout. And the Tesla knows it all and actually respects the local customs. It's the complete opposite of every modern roundabout design on Earth. The ones entering force their way in, while the cars already inside have to slow down or adjust. FSD lets them go, and only then fluidly continues to its desired exit, patiently dragging behind a bus because it intuitively knows that it's following the best possible trajectory. And this is why neural networks are the only real path to autonomy. Paris isn't a driving test, it's a social experiment, and Tesla's neural net is passing that test, not because it memorized the rules, but because it learned to understand. And if anyone says that there are better self-driving systems, just send them this video. But let's compare, just for fun. Click in the middle of the screen to compare Tesla FSD with its fiercest competition, and watch my very first driverless robotaxi ride that I experienced as a proud European. So what are you waiting for? When you're watching it, pay close attention to how different driving is in Paris compared to San Francisco. See you there.